in your book, you mentioned your relational experiences with different women, including even a sugar mama. What made your encounter with your wife different from your previous experiences?
My biggest regret, looking back, I've wasted so much time. Respect yourself and do not ask people to respect you.
Mm,
Once you respect yourself, people will respect you automatically.
that's so good.
When
Alrighty. Hello, everyone. It's your girl, Loving Lou, back at it again with another video. Today's video is an exciting one because I will be interviewing Etienne, the author of An Immigrant's Voyage, working with the juveniles and death row prisoners in North Carolina, USA. Also, my godfather. It's a pleasure having you on my channel and sharing the launch of your new book with my viewers. And so, Edison is a husband, a father of three boys, a pastor, a chaplain. He does it all, guys. He does he does it all. Um, and I would like for you to share a little bit about yourself with the viewers before we get this interview started.
thank you, Loving Lou, for having me on your channel.
Yes.
It is an honor to be on with you. And my name is Edison Etienne. I am originally from Cape Haitian, Haiti. And in January 2000, I went to Jamaica and I lived there for 6 years.
Uh,
And after that, I migrated to North Carolina, USA, to earn a master's degree in divinity. And I've been living in North Carolina for the past 16 years. This past month, I uh, arrived in North Carolina on in January 2006, and since then, God has blessed me with a loving and caring wife, and more blessing came along with three boys, and I think that's it.
well said. Well said. To start, because we're gonna go straight to the point. It's gonna be a quick video, and I'm really excited. This is my first interview, and it's amazing to have you being the first person that I interview. So the first question will be, why did you decide to write and publish this book now?
It was not my intention to write a book.
Mm,
I never had any intention. It was after I earned my PhD in Christian counseling, and my wife asked me, "What's your plan next?" And I told her my plan is to chill out and get some rest because the PhD was a long journey.
I bet.
And then she said to me, "I can tell you you are wrong about your plan." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Generally after people uh, finish a PhD, that's when they start writing because
Hmm.
people need to know what's in your mind." And
Right.
my wife, for those who know her, I call her my biggest cheerleader and challenger. And
Mm,
she's a kind of person who would challenge you without you making you feel like you are being challenged. So weeks after that challenge, I took it seriously, and I began putting my thoughts on paper and using my cell phone to record some stories if I don't have my laptop with me. When I go with my when I go to music lessons with my sons while I'm waiting, that's when I use my laptop to put those stories in my laptop. And I realized that was a good challenge, and it took me about 1 year and a half to
wow.
come to finish this product, and it was time consuming, but I make sure I use every minute I have to into that book because every minute counts when you are working on a project.
Wow. So the biggest thing I see here is the value of a purpose partner. So the fact
Yes,
that you didn't plan on writing a book, but your wife challenged you, it's
yes,
like it's amazing to
yes,
see how she pushed you to do that. And now look, you're done. You did this while raising three boys in ministry, a chaplain. Like, how did you do it? Like, it's amazing to me.
yes. It's um one of the lessons I've learned when I was living in Jamaica was if you want to have something done, don't give it to somebody who is playing dominoes or who is doing nothing
Okay.
because it will never be done. If you
Mm,
really want to get it done, give it to somebody who is busy, and that
mm,
person will find time to do it.
wow.
And I spend time with my boys like I'm not writing a book because I
Yeah.
don't want to interfere my intentional time with them
Yeah.
versus my book. No, I don't do that. I work on my book whenever they don't need my attention.
Yeah.
So I neglect my own time, my own me time to write that book, but I don't take my boys' time away from me as a father to them so that I
Yeah.
can finish that book. No.
Wow. To give the viewers some insight, how old are your kids?
My oldest, he's now in double digit. He's 10 years old, and yes, he's excited about it. And our second one is 8, and
Yeah.
the third one, the last one is 6. And for the viewers, if you look at my hair, my oldest since last year, since he turned 10 last uh, September 2021, and he has been the one, he has been my barber at the age of 10. And prior to that, my wife was my barber. But I think my wife said that she's retired now, and then the oldest one takes over.
And it's no, your oldest one, well, all of them, they're my god kids, and I love them so, so
Yes,
much.
they
Very
love you
smart.
too. They love you too.
So it's amazing to see. I think the biggest thing I've learned from you is discipline. You have to be disciplined and self-control because you have to plan out your day, plan out your time because having a PhD, writing a book, keeping time with your husband, you're a father, you're in ministry, so it's amazing to see that. And the next question would be reading your book not only helped me understand your upbringing better, but our family's history because you are my uncle and my godfather. So, especially grandpa. So I never had a chance to talk to him, but through your book, it made me realize how wise he was. It made me long for those years that I missed, but I was able to experience that through your book. Um, and the only memory I have of him is basically grandma taking care of him while he's sick. That's literally the only memory I have of him. So the question is, why was it important for you to dedicate a section of your book to honor your parents?
Where I am today, socially, spiritually, and otherwise,
Mhm.
uh, my parents are responsible for who I am today.
Mm.
To me, writing a memoir without acknowledging my family tree and without bringing some of the stories, that memoir would have missed a big puzzle
Mm.
because you cannot ignore your ancestors. No matter where you are in life,
Yeah.
your ancestors played an important role. I always tell people where I am today, I'm standing on so many shoulders,
That's so good.
but the shoulders that are very important to me are my parents and my siblings' shoulders, because
Mm.
without them, my life could have been different because I'm the youngest
Yeah.
of
Youngest of how many?
13, 1 3, 1 3. Yes, my parents were very busy.
Wow, the youngest of
of
13.
13. No.
I know these are questions I would be asking. At what age did they have you?
Oh boy. My father was 52 years old
Wow.
and my mother was 46. My mother started having children at age 21,
Wow.
and then she spent those decades having kids. But interestingly, in a side note, when they got married, my father, according to one of the versions of their stories, my father wanted three children. And my mom said, "What? With what woman you are going to have three children? Poor you as a man, you don't know how hard it is to carry a child."
Yeah.
And my mom said, "I wanted one." And my father said, "God has a sense of humor. He put one and three together and then gave us 13." So
Wow.
that is one version.
Oh, that is amazing. And
Yes.
it's interesting to see because we hear that the age of women past 35, how hard it is to conceive. And you said she had you at 47?
46.
46.
Yes.
Wow.
46. Uh, um, my birth was considered as a blessing and a challenge
Yeah.
because some of my siblings were not happy at all when my parents told them they were pregnant once again. A 13th time. So they were not happy. And my presence was not welcome, so to speak,
Mm.
you know. But I was told as I was growing as a boy, I became the center of attention. Yes,
I think even in your book, you mentioned that people thought that you were the oldest, your oldest
yes,
brother kid, right? Because
yes,
they said how could your mother have another kid at that age,
yes,
right?
exactly. Because what happened, my oldest brother was in his 20s
Mm.
when I was born. I think that's why some people in our community could have thought that I was his child, not my parents' last child.
So, and also for in your books, moving on to the next question, you you were born in Haiti, right? You
Yeah,
finished your high school, and then for college, you decided to go to Jamaica, right?
yes.
So, in your book, you mentioned that you had struggles and cultural differences, and the cultural differences you encountered in Jamaica. During that time, did you ever doubt your decision to study in Jamaica?
That's a very good question. Very, very good question, Lou. Let me preface my
Hmm.
answer with um, my intention originally was not to go to Jamaica.
Okay.
After high school, I went to eh, the government law school in my town. So my
Hmm.
intention was to become a lawyer.
Wow.
And after studying law for 2 years, I noticed a pattern
Hmm.
in the Haitian culture where many of our politicians are lawyers. And I didn't want to end up in politics.
Mm.
Now, fast forward, after living in Jamaica, sorry, and in the US, I noticed the same pattern where many of our politicians in the US as well as Jamaica are also lawyers.
Hmm.
So I always joke about it and I tell people I notice that there is a connection between politics and liars and lawyers. I always joke about that. So now to answer the question, um, yes, I had doubt because uh, after spending about 14 years in a
Yeah.
French system, French educational system, and I found myself now in an English system,
Yeah.
which was kind of, it was a struggle at the beginning. I
Right.
questioned my decision to go to Jamaica, and
Wow.
but after a while, um, I still believe it was the right decision to stay, because some of my friends who went Jamaica with me, they did not stay long because
Mm,
they questioned their decision, and then they went back to Haiti, or some of
wow.
them go somewhere else. So yes, I had doubt about my decision to why did I choose Jamaica, but over time I was kind of uh, concerned the fact that many of my friends were leaving Jamaica, and I said to myself, and one of my dear friend who is now a lawyer
Hmm.
in Florida, is a practicing lawyer in Florida, when he was being discouraged, and I told him, I made up my mind. I came to Jamaica on a mission, and I will not leave Jamaica until my mission was accomplished, which was to earn a bachelor's degree. And then we made a
Wow.
pact. He
Yeah.
said, Edison, I'm with you. And then no matter how hard things are, I will stay in Jamaica and then finish my program. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
He came to my graduation, and then I went to his graduation in Jamaica.
Wow. So was that decision an easy one? Let's just say, did your parents accept it because you're leaving Haiti, your hometown, to go to a whole another country? Was it an accepted decision? Were everyone on board? Was
Oh
everyone
no,
on board?
no,
No?
my family split
Oh, snap.
literally about
Okay.
me going to Jamaica. My sisters, and let me back off. I have it was 13 children in my family,
Yeah.
9 girls and 4 boys.
Wow.
So my siblings, my sisters, and my mom, they were against it
Yeah.
because they saw me as I was too young to go overseas to study. And guess
Hmm.
how old I was, Lou? I was 23.
Wow.
And the Haitian culture, you could be in your 30s, your parents still think you are too young.
Yeah. Literally.
Literally, yes, literally. So I was 23, and when the debate was hot.
I bet.
The argument was hot, and then my father waited for everybody to share their side of the argument
Yeah.
for or against me going to Jamaica. And then at the end, my father said, now it's time for me to talk. And he said, let him go.
Oh,
Let him go to Jamaica. And my
wow.
mom said, why? He said, if he goes to Jamaica,
Hmm.
he live a lustful life. He got involved with the Jamaican drugs, ganja. If he gets involved with wild women, if
Hmm.
he started smoking and then have dreadlocks, he will
Hmm.
be he will be the one to face those consequences for the rest of his life. He
Wow.
said, however, if he goes to Jamaica and then focus on his studies,
Hmm.
when he becomes a successful person, it
Yeah.
could be his future wife and children who will reap the benefits. So he said, if you are 23 years old and you don't
Hmm.
know what's wrong and what's right at
Yeah.
that age about life, what to study, he said something is wrong with you,
Wow.
or we have failed as parents, because you should know what's wrong and what's right when it comes to education. He said,
Wow.
let him go. Let him go. Uh, I could hear those words every now and then. Let him go.
Wow, that you see moments like this, it's like I wish he was here. See how wise,
Yes.
and all of that. And I wish more Haitian parents had that mindset. Let's just
Yes.
leave it at that because
Yes.
they want to keep their kid in for as long as possible. But it's like if you trust how you raise them, you should let them go. Right?
And just on a quick side note,
Yes.
it was when I started living by myself in Jamaica, I began to understand when my parents used to tell me, son, when you are leaving your bedroom, turn off the light, turn off the light.
Yeah.
Because the way I began to understand that when I began to be the one paying those bills,
Yeah.
I realized how important it is to keep your lights off.
Right.
Do not waste water.
Right.
So yes. So I encourage parents. I encourage young people. There are certain life lessons you will never learn them while living with your parents.
Mm.
That is the truth. You will never learn certain life lessons while you are under your parents' umbrella.
Yeah.
Sometimes you
That's
have to
so
go
good.
out and then feel the heat. That's when you will understand what your parents have been going through, and then you learn your own lessons.
That's so good. Thank you for sharing that. In your book, you talk about how you originally had was in one major, right? And then you switched like your junior year, I believe
Yes,
you explaining,
yes.
which the question is, what advice would you give to someone pursuing a different passion after investing their time, effort, and money in something else, especially a major, something like that, where
Um, follow your heart,
mm,
your educational heart,
yeah,
and no matter the change you
mm-hmm,
feel is important to make, once you make
mm-hmm,
that decision,
yeah,
do not turn back.
mm-hmm,
Keep moving,
yeah,
and you'll be surprised the knowledge you gained
yeah,
previously from while studying that field. You'll be
yeah,
surprised how useful that knowledge could be in the field that you are pursuing now. But my
wow.
advice to young people who change major several times, once you make that decision, try not to have any regret. Focus on your dream and then keep moving.
Hmm. With that question, what were your parents' thoughts when you switched? You're in your junior year now, so
Yes.
you're so close to the finish line. What were their thoughts? And what was your major before you switched? And what
Uh,
did you
um,
switch into?
I went to Jamaica to study business administration
Okay.
with a minor in information technology.
Okay.
And 2 years into the program, that's when I had a dream about ministry.
Wow.
And when I called my parents and some of my siblings were at home, and I told them about my decision, where I had a dream which I interpreted as if God was calling me into ministry. I
Yeah.
never told people that God called me into ministry, because discerning God's voice to me as a theologian is one of the most difficult things somebody can do, because
Yeah.
sometimes we are hearing our own voice, we think it's God's voice. So I always tell
That's
people
so
I
good.
interpreted that dream as if God was calling me. So when I told my siblings, and then some of them told me, when are you going to make up your mind to study something?
Yeah.
Remember, you quit studying law after 2 years, and now
Hmm.
you want to quit studying business after 2 years. So what's going on?
Wow. Yeah.
And I fully understood their frustration.
Yeah.
But when I told my father about my decision, and I was expecting him not to be happy with me,
Yeah.
and to my surprise, he said, "I'm not surprised the fact that you are going to ministry." I said, "Why?" He said, "Since you were a boy, I
Yeah.
could see God's hands on you." I
Wow.
said, "Dad, Why didn't you tell me
Yeah.
early so I could study theology instead of studying so many different things? And he said, I did not want to influence you into ministry. I was letting
Mhm.
God deal with you. And he
That's so
prayed
good.
and he prayed with me. He said, son, may God be with you as you are going to respond to the calling into ministry. Yes.
That's so good. Like I
Yes.
have nothing else. That's so good. Wow. In hindsight, do you feel your interpretation was right?
Yes, yes. This is one of the best decisions that I've ever made.
Yeah.
My interpretation was right to go into ministry. And I have no regret whatsoever.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
Going into our next question, if someone told you early in your academic journey that you would be a chaplain at a juvenile facility, what would be your reaction?
I would be laughing. I would be laughing. Working with juveniles? No way.
Yeah.
No, I would be laughing. I would be laughing hard. I would say to that person, you better go back and sleep. Have another dream. No, not for me. I would be laughing. But
Wow.
working with those juveniles changed my life
Yeah.
as a person
Hmm.
and as a chaplain.
Wow.
They changed my life. Yeah.
So in your book you mentioned, I'm quoting this from your book. You said constantly, I reminded the offenders of two things, that my goal was to build a relationship with them, not a friendship, and I was not better than them. I was very intentional when it came to treating them with respect and dignity. Losing one's freedom does not mean that person has to lose his or her dignity. This part caught my eye, and the question I have for you is, did you ever deal with an inmate crossing the line? Also, what are some boundaries that you placed to ensure that?
I never, during my almost 8 years working with juveniles and death row inmates,
Yes.
I've never had any issue with any of them because
Okay.
my goal was um, to treat them with respect.
Yeah.
Because when you give respect,
Yeah.
believe it or not, you are going to receive respect back.
That's
You
good.
know? And I always tell them that as their pastor, not ever think that God loves me more than them.
Mm,
No. Because God's love has no bias. God's
mm,
love all of us.
yeah.
And the boundaries that I placed was, and I still put that same boundary as a chaplain with hospice. I
Mm-hmm.
keep my, I always keep my private life private.
Yeah.
For example, about 2 months after I started working with the death row prison in North Carolina, when I came back to work from um, paternity leave, and one death row inmate asked me about my wife and the new baby. And I asked him, how did you know that I have a new baby? And he told me that your supervisor told us. Oh man,
Mm.
I was hot like a hot potato. I was on fire.
You're mad.
I was mad. And then I made sure that that story was right before I went to my supervisor. I asked some other inmates, and they told me, yes, he told us about your wife and your newborn. So I went to him the next day because I did not want to go that same day because when your emotions are high,
Yeah.
sometimes you may say things and you may regret later. So I waited until my emotions kind of calm down. So I
Yeah.
comforted him the next day, and he said to me, oh, yes, I told him, I don't think that's a big deal. I said, sir, that was not your story. That's my story. And I would
Yeah.
appreciate if you could not share my private life with offenders. Yep.
Wow.
And he said, okay, I think you have a point. And he apologized
Yeah.
for doing that. Yeah. So these kind of boundaries I try to set,
Mhm.
with offenders, with my colleagues, no matter where I am. Even in Jamaica, when I was working as a professor or lecturer within the
Mhm.
English system, I try to keep my private life private.
Yes. That's so good because you never know what they'll do with that information, right?
Exactly, exactly. Because there are some evil people out there who may use your personal information against you sometime later.
Right. Exactly. That's so good. I'm
And
happy that.
just on a quick note, um, about 5 years later,
Mhm.
when I submitted my resignation, we had a new supervisor. When I submitted my resignation, that supervisor wanted to have a farewell party for me.
Mhm.
And I told her no. She said, why? I told her I would like to leave the prison the same way I came into that prison. She said, what do you mean? I said, that means I would like to live peacefully and quietly.
Oh,
I said, I would like to. I said, when I came as a new employee, there was no party. So I would
yeah.
like to live the same way. I don't want any party. He said, because by the time you're
Wow.
having party, people are gonna start talking, and then offenders will know that I'm leaving. I have nothing against offenders. For example, the last day I'm leaving, I left the prison. I left the prison on the last Sunday in October 2018. That
Mhm.
same day, I baptized about 15 offenders,
Wow.
and none of them knew that the next day they will not see me again.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, none of them knew. So I try to keep my private life private a lot because I hate to say that we are living in a very strange world.
We are.
Yes,
Yeah. That's so good. And I'm
yes,
happy that you made sure that once you placed those boundaries, you made sure everyone respected it.
oh
And you
yes,
went to your supervisor and spoke to him
yes,
because some people might be scared. It's like, this is the supervisor. I don't want to cross the line or say anything that upsets them, but you did the right thing.
yes. Thank you, thank you.
Y- And your book is pretty juicy, might I add. In your book, you mentioned your relational experiences with different women, including even a sugar mama. So you So, what made your encounter with your wife different from your previous experiences? Because you had a sugar mama, you had other things going on. What made your encounter with your wife different?
I really love that question. Yes. Um, um, by the way, dating a sugar mama was not in my intention. Yeah, yeah, I was introduced to her through a mutual friend. I think she was about 14 or 16 years older. And
Okay.
what made my encounter with my wife different from the previous
Mhm.
experiences, um, I met my wife in a very strange situation
Yeah.
when I went back home to bury my father. My father died the day after Thanksgiving in 2008. And then about a week later, I went to officiate the funeral, which was one of the great honors in my life to officiate my father's funeral. It was not easy, but I have no regret for doing it because nobody knows my father better than I do. Even he had a great relationship with his pastor. And when
Mhm.
I met my wife, who was a very good friend of one of my sisters, and to make a long story short, I was introduced to her. We exchanged names, and then I left, and then something happened. We met again, and when I was leaving Haiti to come back here to North Carolina, and then she asked, we exchanged for numbers, and she told me that I would like to check on you. And I said nothing to her, but that went straight into my heart.
Mhm.
And he asked me about what time is my flight. I told her, And as soon as I was in my one of my brother's car from the airport who came to pick me up, my cell phone rang. And when I answered the phone, it was her who called me to find out if I made it safely to the US.
Mhm.
So that touched my heart deeper, you know.
Yeah.
And and uh, uh, um, and I'm always when examine my life
Mhm.
during my previous experiences,
Mhm.
I noticed a pattern of um, almost all of the ladies that I dated always and higher grade than me academically.
Mhm.
For those of you who don't know, my wife is a trained medical doctor, specialized in
Mhm.
pediatrician. And for example, I mentioned in the book when I was in high school, when I started my senior year, I dated a lady who was a senior. You know,
Mm.
so looking back, it seems that I'm interested in ladies who are more academically advanced, because I believe they I like being challenged,
Mm.
so when you are higher than me, I have to make extra effort to catch up with you, which is good
Yeah.
for me. So that is the part
Yeah.
I like about my wife, where she challenged me and I am able to keep up with her because she is extremely brilliant. She's a
She is.
smart lady, extremely brilliant. You know. Yes.
Wow. And I mean, if it wasn't for her, you wouldn't have this book, right? Because once you
Exactly. Exactly.
it,
Exactly.
that is so funny. Once you finish your PhD, once you got your PhD, she's like, "What's next?" And
That's
you're like,
what's
"I'm trying
next.
to," and you're ready to take a break, and she's like, "No, you need to keep going." So
Exactly.
that's amazing. So to my viewers, be mindful of who you choose because um
Yes.
you're spending life with them, right?
Yes. Yes. And
So
to your viewers, if you are if you are choosing somebody who is not willing to invest in your mind,
mm,
think again,
oh, that's a
because your
word.
academic advancement is very important.
Mm,
Yes.
that's so good. So my viewers are mainly young adults, and I guess to conclude, what's your biggest regret in your 20s, and any tips or advice for those in that age group?
Um, my biggest regret, looking back, I've wasted so much time,
Mm,
and because there's so many things that I could have learned, I could have read more books, you know,
mhm,
and my advice to those in that age group would be respect yourself
mm,
and do not ask people to respect you.
mm.
Once you respect yourself, people will respect you automatically.
That's so good.
When you ask someone to respect you,
Yeah.
you are not going to receive respect back.
Mm,
It's the same way with love.
yeah.
I always encourage young people to love yourself. Don't listen to anybody who is telling you that self-love is wrong. No.
Mm,
Before I can love my wife and my children, I have to love myself.
yeah.
Because
She
once
said,
I'm pleased with who I am, once I love myself, sharing that love would become natural. So I would encourage young people, the advice I would give you: love yourself, and then no matter what's going on, keep learning. No matter how
yeah.
hard things are, keep learning.
Yeah.
And money will come your way as temptation.
Mm,
And if you were to choose between money and education, I may be wrong, but I would tell you to choose education. Because
mm,
as my father used to tell us growing up, you can build a house and for strange reasons you lose it, and
Yeah.
or people steal your wealth or something. But the knowledge you have up here, he said the beauty about it, you cannot see that knowledge, but you use
Yeah.
it to make money.
Yeah.
He said people can steal anything you have, but they will never be able to steal your knowledge.
So good.
So I would encourage you to keep investing in your brain. A beautiful brain with education is awesome. Yeah, that's what I would tell young people when they're 20s.
It's like you knew I would make a video titled Choose You. So one of my videos that I plan on uploading is titled Choose You, where taking the time to love yourself. Because the scripture says, love your neighbor just as you love yourself. So you must, in order for you to love them fully, you must love yourself too. So
Amen.
that's amazing advice, and I take it. And
Yes.
especially the part about respect, that was really, really good. Personally, I've learned a lot about this book, from family history to the importance of being ready to pivot in life because nothing is guaranteed. I just see you pivoting in different roles and seeing how every season in your life played a role in the upcoming season God had for you is amazing. And I can see God's hand in your life in every little detail. So I pray that this book reaches those all around the world and people learn from your life experiences and that they go check out this book titled An Immigrant's Voyage Working with the Juveniles and Death Row Prisoners in North Carolina, USA. So before we end this, do you have any last remarks or where can they find you? You know,
Um, the last remark I have, and I'm gonna share with your viewers how to find the book. Uh, it was Muhammad Ali who said, "If you are
hmm
40 years old and then you behave like you are 20 years
okay.
old, you have wasted 20 years of your life.
Mm,
If you are 30 years old, you behave like you are 20, you have wasted a decade of your life." So, what I
mm,
would encourage people to do is to keep examining your life at different stages, because
yeah.
life goes by seasons. And no matter how hard things have been in the previous seasons,
Mm,
there's always room for improvement,
that's so good.
because the human being is always under construction.
Yeah.
Our constructions will end when we are 6 feet under, or when we
Mm,
are, or if we believe in cremation. But no matter what happened, do not stop learning. No matter what
mm,
happened, even with tears in your eyes, find
mm-hmm.
something to learn from those not so good life's experiences, personal,
Wow.
relational, or otherwise, because
Yeah.
there's always something to be learned in any situation. When it
Mm,
comes to the book was scheduled to publish past January.
mm-hmm.
Um, the book signing was supposed to be at my former uh, university where I earned my master's degree, Campbell University in Buies Creek, North Carolina. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
bragging. This is one of the best schools in the USA. And they agreed to do the book signing for me, but the administration told me due to COVID, they don't think it would be a good idea to have the book signing because people don't want to gather uh, 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 um, a lot. And when I met with my publisher, he told me the same thing. So the book should be in print either in April or early summer. And
Okay.
thankfully, it seems that there might be some good news with COVID-19 where daily cases are going down. But
Okay.
we are crossing our legs, our fingers, and as I always tell people, even our tongue. We cross our tongues too. So hopefully things will go down and then you will have the book um, when it is published. And if you don't mind, I will keep you informed when the book is out.
Awesome.
Thank
That's amazing. And I
thank you
think
very much.
this video alone, there's a lot of wisdom, there's a lot of advice, and the viewers can gain enough from this video until the book comes out. So
Thank
we're
you.
excited. I'm excited for you. And yeah, this was amazing. My first interview, and I will definitely cherish this.
Thank you.
And yeah, that's all for today's video. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Lou. I'm very impressed by your professionalism as my goddaughter, and
Thank you.
what you are becoming is amazing.
Thank you. You're
You are
so
on the
sweet.
right path. Okay, take care.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
You're enough, you're enough, you're enough. I promise you're enough.